The True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the True Crime Society podcast. It is Thursday, March 10th. Our episode on Orrin and Orson just came out today, day after my birthday, like I said. It was a great one. Thank you. I'm officially 31, very old. My boss asked me if I was 22 today. And I don't know if he was just trying to be funny or what, but I was like, no, I'm 31. But yeah, had a great time. Thank you for the birthday wishes to the people who wish me a happy birthday. Like I said just a second ago, our episode on Orrin and Orson West came out today, and we have not an update, but just like a little side note on it. Yeah. So when I was editing the episode, I was watching some clips. I found one newer clip, and this isn't something that we've seen mentioned very often. I know you followed this case kind of closer than I did since the beginning, and you even said like you've never heard of it. So remember, it was like a big thing that Orrin and Orson, they were out on the patio playing with chalk, allegedly. And even some people and journalists were like, well, there was no chalk drawings on the patio. And we're like, well, what a rookie mistake. Hello. So allegedly, they have a dog named Chalk. But a lot of people feel like this could be a lie. But apparently, according to Trezell, the kids were outside playing with their dog Chalk.
I feel like it's strange. I don't know. I don't know if it's true. It could be true, I guess. But I feel like to me it sounds maybe like this is a bit of a cover-up story. When he realized that there was actually no chalk drawings, he's like, oh, but actually our dog is called Chalk. You think otherwise he would have just said playing outside with the dog. Like that would be...
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like he never, in the interviews, he never prefaced it like I wouldn't just be like, oh, I was just hanging out with Peep. I'd be like, oh, I was hanging out with my cat, Peep. Like, I wouldn't just assume that people would know Peep is my cat. So I feel like it's just weird that in the interview he's done, and I watched a bunch of them while editing, he never, prefaced it with, oh, our dog Chalk, or, they were outside with the dog. It was always just, the kids were playing with chalk.
When you Google it, there are some discussions online about it being a dog. There's, as far as I know, it isn't actually confirmed that the dog is Chalk. But I think maybe, yeah, as you said, Trezell has kind of alluded to it in later interviews that they were playing with the dog named Chalk. But I don't know, seems kind of suspicious.
The only clip where I saw it specifically mentioned was just from a couple months ago, and it was the News Nation one.
Yeah.
That they were as part of their renewed missing people thing after Gabby Petito. So it was pretty recent, and they were the ones to be the kids were outside playing with their dog Chalk. But also, even when he's talking about how, he went inside and outside, he was looking for them, the gate was open, he was never oh, Chalk was still there, the dog was missing too, or, the dog was still here, that's what I'm wondering. I know that they still have the dog, but, wouldn't you think you'd include that also? If the dog was also missing, the dog got out of the gate too?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that story is a lie at this point, but...
would be a good detail to include if you're trying to cover up something, oh, but the dog was still there, but the boys weren't there, or the dog wasn't there, or... whatever. So, yeah, it seems like a bit of an afterthought for the dog to be called Chalk. Could very well be, I don't know, but it just seems very strange.
Yeah, and there's some, crazy YouTubers out there, again, who are, filming the dog calling Chalk to see if the dog answers, to try to debunk the mystery,
God.
But...
And I did read some comments about that, and they were debating if you call any dog with, enough... inflection
a dog
in your
calling voice.
hey, it'll come to you.
It's gonna fucking look.
It's wait, that's not my name. I'm not going to turn around and look.
Yeah. I feel like I could call my cat something different but similar, and the same tone of voice I would use, and they would still look.
Well, imagine I have 50,000 nicknames for my dogs. I call them a new name every day, and they always come.
Yeah. So we just wanted to include that. I mean, no one's pointed it out to us, but I figured it was kind of just something silly to include, just to have a full disclosure, so we're all on the same page here about the possible the dog that's allegedly named Chalk. Also, weird dog name.
I know, it's calling your dog Pencil.
And he's not even white, isn't he? Gray.
I don't know. I haven't
I
actually
think
seen a photo of the dog, but
I could be lying, but I'm pretty sure he's like gray or like a darker color. So it's not even like he's a white dog. I could be wrong. Please don't like yell at me. It could have been like a stock photo of a dog that I saw.
in case anyone doesn't know what a dog is, they included a stock photo.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Okay, so since the scammers, the social scammers was such a hit, we decided maybe we would do another kind of lighthearted one. You know, with the state of the world, it's nice to break up all the sad stuff with like things that are a little more silly. I mean, they're not really silly considering both these cases were a huge fucking mess, but
Nobody really got hurt, I think is the main thing. The only people who they
only
hurt
the
was themselves.
taxpayers.
Yeah, well, yeah, that and themselves. So
But yeah, you know what I mean. It's not murder, it's not dead families, dead children. It's a little more lighthearted. But we actually had already had the idea of doing this episode and we're making a list. But with the big, huge news in the Sherri Papini case, that was like a big fucking surprise to me that this finally happened. We decided that this was the perfect time to do an episode about faked kidnappings and faked disappearances. We're going to go over two today. We're going to do Sherri, since that is a big one at the moment. We're also going to do Madison Bell, which happened recently and was also like a big hysterical mess on social media for some reason. There's a few others, but we figured kind of like the social scammers thing. This could be like an ongoing theme episode just to break up all the sad episodes every so often. Hannah Potts was another big weird one where she faked her own kidnapping because she wanted to write a book. Maybe we'll do that one next time, but we couldn't fit them all in today. So we're going to start off with Sherri, and then we're going to get into Madison and their faked abductions. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but it's the name of the episode, I'm guessing.
She made it all up. That's the bombshell allegation leveled today against Sherri Papini, the mom whose supposed kidnapping in 2016 as she jogged riveted America. Prosecutors now say Papini's headline-making story was fabricated. Sherri Papini was reported missing by her husband, Keith.
Bring her home safe. There's a $50,000 reward. Bring her home.
22 days later, on Thanksgiving Day 2016, she was found wandering, bruised, dazed, and branded. She claimed she'd been kidnapped at gunpoint while jogging by two Hispanic women. But now, cops say Papini faked the kidnapping. They say she arranged for an ex-boyfriend to pick her up while jogging and drive her 600 miles to his home in Costa Mesa, California. During the entire time the nation was looking for her, Papini never left the ex-boyfriend's residence, the criminal complaint says.
So Sherri Papini was born Sherri Louise Grafe on June 11, 1982. So that made her 34 at the time of her kidnapping in 2016. She has been married twice. Her first marriage was to a man named David Dreyfus, and they divorced in 2007. Sherri married her current husband, Keith Papini, in either 2009 or 2012. I've seen it reported as both dates, so I'm not entirely sure which is correct, but it was around that time. And they have two children together, Violet and Tyler. The couple lived in the Redding area of California in 2016, and I believe they still live around there. Keith was working at Best Buy at the time. I don't really know what Sherri did or does. I've seen that she's an entrepreneur and whatever. I don't actually know if she does much, but
In the videos I watched today, they just said she was like a full-time mom. I don't know what she did before that, though, but
I don't know either. And yeah, so no, whatever she's done, if she's done much in her career, it's not really online. So the date of Sherri's alleged abduction was November 2, 2016, which was a Wednesday. Sherri took the kids, who were aged 2 and 4 at the time, to the daycare in the morning. Later that morning, Sherri sent Keith a text asking if he would be home for lunch. He later told the media, and he said, "I received a text message from her at 10:37 a.m. that day asking me if I was coming home for lunch. I usually don't bring my personal phone in on my job, so I didn't respond to that message until 1:39 p.m. that day." Keith arrived home from his job at Best Buy at around 5 p.m. and he, straight away noticed that neither Sherri or the kids were home, and he became worried. He called the daycare center and found out that the children hadn't been picked up. So Keith said, "Knowing that she didn't pick up our kids, there is no way that ever happens. She could drop her phone, but she would never in a million years not pick up our children on a time that she normally would have." So it seemed pretty out of character for, I guess, Sherri's daily routine. She had never ever forgotten the children before. Keith used the Find My Phone app and he got a hit for Sherri's cell phone. He drove around and found her phone and her earbuds at the intersection of Sunrise Drive and Old Oregon Trail, which was around 1 mile from their home.
I pulled up. I saw our car there, and I opened the door expecting my son comes 100 miles an hour right at me, and then usually Violet right behind him. We do what we call, our family snuggles. I looked in a few different rooms and I couldn't find anybody. I thought, okay, maybe they're outside, and I looked around outside, but at the time I was like, I'm sure they're all together. I had no reason to believe otherwise. I did the, Find My Phone app, and it showed where her phone was. So I assumed that's where she was, and I assumed that the kids were with her.
Where did the Find My Phone app show that Sherri was and you thought with the kids?
On near our mailbox, which is a ways away. It's about a mile away, actually.
Are you worried?
Not quite yet.
So the earbuds were wrapped loosely around the phone and there were strands of Sherri's blonde hair attached to them. Keith then called the Shasta County Sheriff to report Sherri missing at 5:51 p.m. I have seen it written in some places as 7:51, so I was going to include them both, but then I saw on the actual GoFundMe, which we'll go into in a bit, it does say 5:51. I feel like that's probably the correct time if you do see it written another way.
911, what is your emergency? Hello, can I help you?
Hello? Yeah, so I just got home from work, and my wife wasn't there, which is unusual, and my kids should have been there by now from, daycare. So I was like, oh, maybe she went on a walk. I couldn't find her, so I called the daycare to see what time she picked up the kids. The kids were never picked up, so I got freaked out, so I hit, the Find My iPhone app thing, and it said that it showed her phone, at our end of our driveway. We don't have really good service.
Okay.
Not the end of our driveway, but the end of our street. So I just drove down there, and I saw her phone with her headphones because she started running again. And I found her phone, and it's got, hair ripped out of it, in the headphones. So I'm, totally freaking out, thinking, somebody, grabbed her.
Okay, what's your address?
Redding.
Okay, what's your last name?
Yes. Papini, P-A-P-I-N-I.
And your first name?
Keith.
So police arrived and began their investigation into Sherri's disappearance. Witnesses reported seeing her wearing a pink running jacket and jogging on Sunrise Drive, and one said they saw her at 11 a.m. and the other one said it was 2 p.m. So Sunrise Drive, where she was seen jogging, is also where her belongings were found. So I guess it was a bit late that night to kind of start the search, and the search really ramped up for her the next day, which was November 3rd. California Highway Patrol carried out aerial searches and police started to do checks on the 290 registered sex offenders who lived in the area.
It's a lot.
I know it's a lot. I guess maybe it's I think it might be quite a rural area, so maybe that's very spread out. So it's a large area to kind of search.
Yeah.
Sherri's sister Sheila told the media that they believed Sherri had been abducted. By the next day, which was November 4, a $10,000 reward had been established for Sherri's return. One day later, November 5, the reward was already at $50,000. So within 2 or 3 days, they'd already got it up to $50,000, which is a good effort.
Before we get into the rest of the episode, this episode is sponsored by Ana Luisa, who offers high-quality jewelry at affordable prices. Their unique designs will make you feel empowered, elegant, and at your finest. Their prices start at $39, and our listeners get 20% off. I'm super excited for the stuff that I ordered. I got this really cute, daintier kind of necklace that has a little safety pin on it. It brought me right back to when I was angsty and emo in high school, middle school. Loved safety pins, all about it. So definitely a callback to my youth right there.
I've ordered a beautiful Gemini pendant and necklace, gold. It looks very fine, delicate. It's a little bit different to the jewelry I've usually worn, so I'm really, really excited to get that.
Sucker for Zodiac stuff. Love it.
Me too. All the time, I always order that type of stuff.
Yeah. There's new jewelry collections released every Friday, and they make amazing gifts too, especially when they're 20% off. They're also a carbon neutral company from the packaging to the product, and they care about their impact on the planet, which is always a positive.
So go to shop.analuisa.com/society. That's shop.analuisa.com/society. You can enjoy 20% off the entire Ana Luisa website today. That's at shop.analuisa.com/society. We're sure you'll love them. So a few days later, November 9, 2016, police announced that Sherri's husband, Keith, was not a person of interest in her disappearance. They said that he'd been cooperating and he'd also passed a polygraph test. They said there was no physical evidence linking him to the case. On November 13, Sherri's family hired a private investigator to look into the case, and the FBI joined the search for Sherri just a few days after. So this gives you an idea of how seriously they were taking this. They really thought she'd been abducted. The FBI became involved. There was so much manpower, hundreds and hundreds of searchers looking for her. She really, I guess, pulled the wool over everyone's eyes.
I feel like she's kind of the case where like missing white woman syndrome like restarted, because she's very pretty, long, really blonde hair, like big blue eyes, kind of like similar to Gabby in a way of just like everyone, she's just pretty, so everyone's like infatuated with the case, and that's kind of why I feel like it blew up so much, because she just looked, her and her family looked so perfect, and people just get obsessed.
Definitely, I agree with that. So around that time, Sherri's mother Loretta spoke to the media. She said, "I believe that she was abducted, that someone knew her, someone took her. She wouldn't leave her babies and she wouldn't leave her family like this." She went on and said, "Somebody has taken her and we just want her back. I don't care what the cost is. Just give us information or do something. If they want money, you can have money. We just want Sherri back." So I remember with this case, there was some weird kind of interjection by random people, people who didn't know Sherri. It was just a bit strange. I'm guessing maybe because she was so attractive, so many people became invested in the case.
Yeah, it was one of those ones that was like a lot of hysteria and sleuths and internet people like doing too much.
So on November 17, an anonymous person set up the website sherripapini.com, and they offered an undisclosed ransom for her immediate release. They set the deadline at 5 a.m. on Wednesday, November 23rd to get the money. They put a letter up on the site, and it instructed, quote, "The person who has Sherri Papini," and they also named Cameron Gamble as the middleman. So I forgot about him till I started researching this episode, but he basically inserted himself in this case. He said he was a kidnap and ransom consultant, and that he was acting independently from law enforcement and the family. So you might see, like, there's a lot of videos and things like that about him and his kind of involvement in this case.
Let's bring in Cameron Gamble, a self-described kidnap and ransom consultant. Tell us, first of all, how you got involved in this case.
Yeah, I was actually, I was out of town most of the time while Sherri was in captivity, but I was brought in by an individual who knew me in the community for speaking on specifically human trafficking a few years prior to this. She had called and asked, she was a mutual friend of the family, and asked if I could come in and just consult with the family and just kind of give my opinion as to what I thought had taken place.
So what was your approach going to be, and did you find that Keith and that family members were skeptical that it could work?
You know, I really only talked to Keith about it. I didn't really speak to any of the other family members. And Keith, at that point, like he just said in the video, he was absolutely willing to try anything. And we felt like this could work, because when you get to that point of desperation, you do try to do whatever might possibly work, and it did work out. But Keith was all for it at the very beginning. As a matter of fact, it was Keith who brought the kidnap for ransom idea to me via the individual who came forward with all the money.
Now, no money ever exchanged hands, correct?
That is correct.
So why do you think that this was at least part of the reason that she was released?
Well, if you just look at the timeline on this, there's a couple things going on here. One, I was the only one willing to go public and put my reputation on the line and call it for what I believed it was, which was an abduction. Alongside the family, they believed it was as well. So we released the first video. It goes viral on both on a social media side as well as just the media outlet. And then that was our point, was to get it to go viral, to show that there's an option here for these abductors. And then when the ransom wasn't taken up on, we gave them another option, and that was just let her go. You can just walk away from this. And if you don't, just so you're aware, there's a bounty now. And as I stated in the video, that's not something I control. It's not a threat. But we are willing to take all this ransom money and add it to the pot for those who can bring us to you, whoever you are. And then you have less than 24 hours later, these abductors just let her go.
Sheriff Tom Pazenko said at the time there was still not enough evidence to classify the disappearance as an abduction. He also cautioned the family about taking this ransom approach, as he said they could become targets for scammers. The website is gone, but I'll put some screenshots from our favorite site, The Wayback Machine, on the blog. It's got a big photo of Sherri smiling. The title of the website says, Ransom Reward for Sherri Papini. Private citizen offering cash ransom payment for the immediate release of Sherri Papini. And then it goes into talking about it. It says, I set up an email address and disposable phone. I don't want anyone to know who I am. I don't know. I suspect it was probably Cameron Gamble who put up this website. Maybe. That would be
I didn't think of that, but that would make sense.
Anyway, so that was the website that was started at the time. There was also a GoFundMe started to raise money to assist in the search for Sherri. I've seen a screen grab on the archive website. It shows that they had raised $40,000 out of a $50,000 goal. I think the end total was around $49,000, and they raised that in just over a week after she disappeared. This is kind of a comment I picked from the GoFundMe because it gives you an idea of how invested people were in this case. Just a random person wrote, I would love to have a banner or sign made for Sherri to post in my yard. I have an acre and a half that runs along I-80, the main thoroughfare between Sacramento and Reno. Thousands of cars pass by daily that would see it. If anyone has suggestions on how to get one donated, I would be very honoured to display it. Then the person goes on to say, I joined the search party Friday and posted flyers through the night on Saturday on my way back to Sacramento. I feel so helpful and I want to do anything I can, helpless, and want to do anything I can, even being so far away. Thank you. Bless this sweet family. So there was many comments along those lines, people wanting to help do whatever they could to find Sherri at the time. On November 20, 2016, which was around 18 days after she was last seen, police announced they had served 20 search warrants and had investigated more than 400 tips. So Cameron Gamble, who we spoke about just before, he spoke again on November 22nd and 23rd. He said he believed the abductors were, quote, still in decision-making mode. Rod Rodriguez, who's Keith Papini's stepfather, said on Facebook that if the deadline expired without information, the money would turn into a reward. Cameron Gamble never said how much the abductor would receive, but he did say that anyone who got Sherri home would get a 6-figure sum. So Cameron also posted a new video the day after this, saying that the ransom had been withdrawn and the money would be combined with the $50,000 reward that was previously posted. So, as I mentioned before, many people kind of questioned Cameron's intentions at the time and why he was so involved in this case. This info is from an article about Cameron from the Daily Beast back in 2016. It says, but Gamble is no expert. Instead, his resume suggests an obscure self-defense coach who appears to have inserted himself into a woman's disappearance to parlay it into fame and fortune. He made his first appearance in the Papini case on November 18, more than 2 weeks after she disappeared, where he uploaded a video to YouTube and said, my name is Cameron Gamble, and I am an international kidnap and ransom consultant. While Gamble was working on the donor's behalf, he also was planning his own future. Records show that he registered CameronGamble.com on November 20, which is when Sherri was still missing. So, the insinuation is that he was trying to use her disappearance to get famous. It's just kind of a weird side note to this case. It doesn't really end up being too important in the end, but at the time it was very odd.
I also feel like, is there that many ransom situations where we need a ransom consultant where that's his job title? I feel like I've never heard of a real ransom situation where they're give us this, I know it happens, but I feel like it's usually a lie and the person's dead already, or it's just a serial killer being a dick. I feel like nowadays the ransom stuff doesn't really happen.
They actually had no reason to believe that she was being held for ransom because as far as I know, there was never any contact made by the alleged kidnappers. No. I don't know why.
They were the ones offering the reverse ransom.
Very strange. So on November 24, 2016, which was 22 days after Sherri disappeared, a passing motorist spotted a woman on the side of the road in Woodland, California, which is around 150 miles south of Redding. It was at 4:30 a.m. The motorist assisted the woman and called police. Sherri had been found.
4 a.m. and Allison Sutton happens to be driving down I-5 North, one of millions of Americans on the road to visit family for Thanksgiving.
I was in the right-hand lane and I saw a woman frantically waving what looked like a shirt trying to flag somebody down. She had a wide-eyed, panicked kind of look. I was startled to see her. It was dark and she pretty much just came out of nowhere. If I had swerved to the right at least a little bit, I would have hit her with my car. I figured if she was willing to risk being hit by a car trying to get somebody's attention, that she must really need some help. I pulled off and I dialed 911.
911 emergency.
Rescue workers raced to the scene, the silence of the early morning now filling with sirens and the crackle of radio chatter.
Attention Station 8. Unknown medical problem. It's going to be northbound I-5. Female needs medical attention. She is heavily battered. It's going to be some sort of an assault.
At 10:31 a.m. on that day, the sheriff's office made a statement saying that Sherri had been reunited with Keith and had received medical clearance. He spoke again at 2 p.m. that day, and he gave the media some details about Sherri's kidnapping. He said that the captors were two Hispanic women with a handgun, and they were driving a dark-coloured SUV. One of the captors left her alongside County Road 17 off the freeway, where she was bound by restraints. She was treated for non-life-threatening injuries and released from a hospital in Yolo County. He didn't say anything about if she'd been sexually assaulted. So Sherri is very petite anyway, but when she was found, she weighed 87 pounds or 40 kilos. She had been branded apparently and had her nose broken and her hair had been kind of hacked off. Keith spoke to the media later about the alleged branding. He said, "No, I read it, but it's a really confusing Bible passage. It's like a really weird part of the Bible. It doesn't make any sense." So as far as I know, details of what the alleged brand were have never been made public, and we'll speak about the brand a little bit more later because they go into it. We find out a little bit more as time goes on.
Now, after that pre-dawn phone call, Keith is breaking every speed limit to get to the hospital where Sherri's been taken.
The entire hospital was on lockdown. Eventually, they opened the door.
The woman who's behind the curtain doesn't look like the wife and mother smiling back in countless family photos.
One of the officers kind of braced me and kind of put his arm around me and he said, prepare yourself. She's alive and you just got to be happy. They branded her. So I just wanted to see her. So I just ran past everybody and I, throw open the curtain and she was there in a bed in her poor face. And I just hugged her, I just held her. I felt like I hugged her for 20 minutes. I was so happy that she was there and I was just kissing her all over and then I got nauseated just looking at her. It was so hard for me to see her like that. And
Keith, a couple of times you said her face, her poor face.
Yeah.
What did you see?
The bruises were just intense, the bumps from, being hit and kicked and whatever else. Everybody gets a bruise once in a while, but not these types. I mean, these are hard to look at. Her hair, she's always had very long blonde hair. They chopped it off.
I just need to know, because I was worried that when you first said her face, that they didn't brand her face, right?
I will say that no, it's not on her face, no.
She lost almost 15% of her body weight in 22 days.
Oh, yeah.
That is traumatic physically.
Oh, yeah. It made me sick that there is people out there that could do something like this.
Sherri was found with both male and female DNA on her. Neither matched her or her husband. The FBI ran the DNA through their database CODIS and found no matches. When Sherri was asked for details about the abduction, she said, quote, "I don't remember a lot. I'm missing time. The car smelled really bad like sewage. She stuck me with something. I kept falling asleep." It's a very vague story.
Would you, I should have asked this before, but I didn't want to interrupt. If you saw someone waving cars down at 4:30 in the morning, would you stop? I wouldn't stop. I would call 911, but I wouldn't feel safe to stop.
No, I agree. I know she's a small woman. I would have probably stopped up the road and waited and called the police, but I wouldn't have.
And that's what the woman did.
This is a kind of a separate story, but when I was probably about 18 and I just got my, car and license and everything, I was driving home late one night and this man ran out into the road. We live in a very suburban area, so there was, other cars and stuff around. I wasn't just leaving him by himself, but he was covered in blood and he was waving me down and I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
No way. 18-year-old girl, I'm not going to stop and let a man covered in blood into my car. So,
No. But even if it was like a girl who looks like she's in trouble, like you don't know who's after her and like they could hurt you or it could be
who's
a
in the
trap.
area. Yeah, exactly. Especially at 4:30 in the morning when there's probably not going to be very many people around.
Yeah. So we don't recommend it.
No, go stop a little bit further and call the police and lock your
Yeah.
doors. So police gave more updates on November 25, which was the day after Sherri was recovered. Tom Basenko said that officials had no reason to doubt her story. He also said they were looking through surveillance videos and traffic cameras to identify all the perpetrators. On November 28, details about the 911 call made when Sherri was found were made public. People listening to police scanners said that they heard that Sherri was found, quote, chained to something. The sheriff, Tom Basenko, said that police never phrased it that way. He said, we weren't specific on how she was restrained. After being released, dropped off, however you want to refer to it, she walked to a nearby church and then no one was there. So she walked to the I-5 down Road 17 where she flagged down a motorist. Allison Sutton was a driver who said she saw Sherri on the side of the road and she called 911. She told the New York Daily News that Sherri didn't look like she was hurt, but she did look scared. She told the news that Sherri was waving some type of fabric for help and was not appropriately dressed for how cold it was.
I think they said in the Allison Sutton said, and I think the police said, that she had like a chain around her waist, but she like wasn't chained up.
Yeah.
Because then the husband was saying in an interview, because he like became her mouthpiece after this, that Sherri said to him like she tried to hide the chain because she didn't want people to think that she was like an escaped prisoner or something. And that the fabric that she had was apparently the bag that the people had like put over her head.
And she managed to get it off. Yeah.
Before we get into the rest of the episode, this episode is sponsored by June's Journey. Sometimes after a long day, I just want to put my brain on a shelf and not worry about anything. So I started playing a new mobile game called June's Journey, and it's the perfect way to distract yourself from all the stress of the real world.
So you play as June Parker, who's an amateur detective. She investigates a series of mysteries full of twists and turns around every corner. You'll put your powers of observation to the test, sharpen your sleuthing skills, and relish the thrill of solving the case. The game is full of immersive scenes with danger and romance in full force.
Whether you're craving a good mystery or just need to get away for a while, June's Journey is the perfect game for you. Sit back, relax, and let your inner Sherlock escape to the glamorous roaring 20s, where you'll search for hidden objects to solve mystery after mystery across thousands of vivid scenes. And with new chapters every week, there's always a new case waiting to be cracked.
I love playing June's Journey when I want to wind down at the end of a busy day. Finding the hidden objects is so relaxing, but the story really keeps my attention and makes me think, which is great because sometimes I have a hard time focusing.
There's a detective in all of us. Find your inner detective and join 30 million fans by downloading June's Journey for free today on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
So Keith issued the following statement to Good Morning America after Sherri was returned. He said, it's very, I don't even know what the word is. It's very dramatic.
My first note in my little notes is, her husband is so annoying.
The statement said, Sherri was taken from us for 22 days and suffered incredibly through both intense physical agony and severe mental torture. My reaction was one of extreme happiness and overwhelming nausea as my eyes and hands scanned her body, which the hands bit's a bit creepy.
Inappropriate.
Especially when someone's in hospital with all these apparent injuries. I was filled with so much relief and revulsion all at once. My Sherri suffered tremendously, and all the visions swirling in your heads of her appearance, I assure you, are not as graphic and gruesome as the reality. The mental prison I was in over the past 3 weeks was shattered when my questions of my wife's reality became known. The officers warned me to brace myself. My first sight was my wife in a hospital bed, her face covered in bruises ranging from yellow to black because of repeated beatings. The bridge of her nose was broken. She had been branded, and I could feel the rise of her scabs under my fingers. She was thrown from a vehicle with a chain around her waist attached to her wrists and a bag over her head. The same bag she used to flag someone down once she was able to free one of her hands. And then he goes on and he says, we are a very private family whom do not use social media outlets prior to this grotesque tragedy. My love for my wife took precedence, and it was clear we had to be exposed in ways we would never have been comfortable with. So please have a heart and understand why we have asked for privacy. This will be a long road of healing for everyone. Ultimately, it was Sherri's will to survive that brought her home. Thank you. I wonder if he feels
stupid
weird today.
Like, I don't know like what he knew or if he knew anything. I guess he passed a polygraph test, but like, I don't know. He was so melodramatic and kind of annoying in all the interviews I listened to of him today. Like, he just really gave me like the ick, if that's like a good way to say it. Everything was as if it was like a shitty Lifetime movie, the way he described it, and like all of his quotes about like how he had to break the news to his kids, and of course the kids said some like adult quotes like, "Dad, you can tell us anything, like we know something's wrong." I'm like, your 4-year-old didn't say this.
So on November 30, Sheriff Tom Bozenko spoke to the media again, and he gave some more information about the suspects. He said, one is younger with long curly hair, thin eyebrows, pierced ears, and a thick Spanish accent. The other woman is older with straight black and grey hair and thick eyebrows. The sheriff said he did not have specific information to know if the case was related to a cartel or human trafficking. He also told the media that Sherri's phone and earbuds appeared to be neatly placed on the ground rather than lost in a struggle. The screen was facing up and the earbuds were kind of loosely wrapped around the phone. It's not like they were just thrown on the ground, which you would think if that was an abduction.
Yeah, it was like the earbuds were like nicely kind of wound up right on top of the phone. Like, it didn't look like they were thrown or anything at all.
Yeah. So as this story kind of started, coming out more and more people began to find holes in the story. As they dug deeper, the situation got pretty shady. There was a blog post which was from 2003, which I know is a fair while before Sherri's disappearance, but it was apparently written by Sherri under her maiden name. I'll put the whole thing on the blog, but basically it's quite a racist blog post. She talks about skinheads. I'll read out some of it. I won't read out the whole lot, but she says, I grew up in a small country town, Shasta Lake, California. My school was predominantly white. It was a small enough town that everyone pretty much knew each other. I was also known as a really good athlete, and my dad had a reputation for being my biggest fan, but for also standing up against Latinos. Like, she could just get straight into it. He even was often kicked out of the stands for getting in fights and defending himself when the Latinos would call him a Nazi. Seems that our simply being of German descent was a constant irritant to them. So she goes on and on. She talks all in this blog post about different kind of experiences that she had with Latinos. She talks about one, and she talks about skinheads a lot. She says, I totally agree with skinheads that girls should not fight. They should stand by their men, which is interesting as we go on to, not men. So she talks about a time when basically she was attacked and her leg was split open and it was hard to walk. But she, got on with it and walked up the bleachers anyway. And then she goes on to this. It says, 2 weeks later, I was closing the family pizza joint we owned when 2 cars pulled up. I instinctively knew who it was. 3 Latino guys and 5 girls rushed in and jumped me. I put up a fight, but I was outnumbered. Jessie, the girl whose nose I broke, was with them. They kept hollering about how they hated skinheads, how all skinheads should be burned alive, and how I and my ancestors were all KKK. I actually laughed in their faces. I mean, they were so dumb, they were actually funny. How dumb can you be? So, she goes on about it. I'll read the last bit because it's a bit interesting, I guess. Being white is more than just being aware of my skin, but of standing behind skinheads who are always around in spirit as well, and having pride for my country. Being white is my family, my roots, my way of life. It's always there. There's no denying it. It's nobility and it's strength.
I bet that she never got jumped by Latinos at the pizza place. Just like how I bet she never got abducted
times
by Latinos.
And I guarantee she never broke anyone's nose.
Oh, hell no.
It's just a very strange rant. It is a rant. There's no other word for it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of interesting because a lot of the testimony and kind of witnessed information that she gave was about the race of these 2 women, and she even said things like they had mariachi music on in the car, and it was all very stereotypical.
Yeah, it just goes to further show that she clearly has a problem with Latinos.
Yeah. So the sheriff spoke at the time, and he said that police were aware of the post, but that they believed it was too old to be of any relevance to her actual kidnapping. In April 2017, so a little bit after she was abducted and found, records from 2003 emerged, and it showed that Sherri had been allegedly self-harming and had tried to blame her wounds on her mother, Loretta. So the incident report filed in December 2003 reads, RP, which is Loretta, states her 21-year-old daughter was living with her and was harming herself and blaming it on the RP. RP states female is coming back to live with them and she wants advice. So it sounds like there's been a few things going on with Sherri over the years. This wasn't maybe the first thing.
Seems like she wasn't mentally sound always.
So in 2000, so the case kind of went really quiet, and there was, the occasional article, there'd be photos of Sherri and Keith in a cafe or whatever, but, nothing had really happened. In 2020, though, a criminal complaint was made against Sherri. The document says that Sherri had been staying with an ex-boyfriend during her, quote, abduction and had inflicted harm on herself to back up her false statement. The ex-boyfriend said that he believed Sherri was purposefully trying to lose weight while she was staying with him, and the DNA that was found on hers was the ex-boyfriend's. Phone records show that Sherri and the ex were seeing each other, sending flirty texts dating back to 2011. However, she continued to deny that story when questioned, and she kept sticking by her story about the Hispanic women. When she was interviewed, other various men found saved in Sherri's phone talked about her history of lying. The whole document is 55 pages, so we won't read the entire thing. I'll put it all on the blog if you want to read it. There are some very interesting facts and, tidbits in there. It's very detailed. It goes through the whole timeline of this alleged disappearance, so I really suggest that you go and have a look at it. This is one interesting bit I've picked out, which is about her first husband. Investigators learned that Papini had a previous marriage to man 3. Husband told 2 investigators that Papini married man 3, who was in the military, to get medical insurance because of a heart murmur issue. Investigators located man 3 and interviewed him on November 14, 2016. So this is when she was still missing. He confirmed that he and Papini had been married in 2006 prior to his deployment overseas, and that Sherri needed basically to marry him because she needed health insurance due to complications related to regular egg donations. He said that he and Papini never lived together and did not travel together except for once when she visited him in Japan. When he returned from his deployment, Sherri told him that she had found someone else and wanted a divorce, and he agreed. Sherri told the ex-husband, that her family had abused her while growing up, and after the divorce, he heard from mutual friends that she had a history of lying. So the criminal complaint also does state that Sherri's branding was, quote, indistinguishable, so I'm not entirely sure what her husband was apparently talking about with it being a Bible verse and that he's read it, and it was very strange. If it was indistinguishable, I wonder why he would lie about that.
Yeah, I saw one interview with the main sheriff, I guess, and he was, because it was before it came out really anything what it was, and the reporters were trying to ask what the branding was, and the sheriff was like, well, it's not a symbol and it's not really a phrase, and I could put the clip in here, but he was like, it could be a message to her, it could be a message to us. I was like, this is the weirdest explanation of what it could be.
I'm not able to go into the specifics of what the branding is, but it could be a number of different messages there.
Okay. And you know what the brandings were?
Yes.
Do they say something?
It is not a symbol, but it was a message.
To who?
It could be a message to her. It could be a message to others.
I feel like it's probably nothing. It's probably something that she just
tried
put
to
on
make
there.
a Bible verse, and it didn't come out very well.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I don't really think that what her husband said about being able to read it was true.
Yeah.
So as of June 2021, Sherri's kidnapping was still unsolved. There was a $10,000 reward being offered by the secret witness of Shasta County for information leading to the arrest or conviction of the abductors. So I think, everyone in the true crime kind of community just assumed nothing really was ever going to happen with this case. I think everyone knew that it was super suspicious, but that she would probably just get away with it due to lack of evidence or whatever. But on March 3rd this year, something good finally happened. Sherri was arrested and charged with making false statements to a federal law enforcement officer, and she was also charged with mail fraud. The day after she was arrested, Sherri made an appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Jeremy Peterson. She was ordered detained as a danger and a flight risk until Tuesday, March the 8th at 2 p.m. for a detention hearing. Besides her detention hearing, her next court date is set for March 18, so around a week away at the time of recording. Court documents reveal that Sherri applied for and received more than $30,000 from the California Victims' Compensation Board for her ordeal, which led to the mail fraud charge. Among the items that she was compensated for included therapy sessions for PTSD from the kidnapping, ambulance services, and also $1,000 for her to buy window blinds for her home. The Sheriff Michael Johnson spoke about Sherri's arrest. He said, "Today is a great day for the Shasta County Sheriff's Office and for all law enforcement in this county. Sherri Papini cost public safety conservatively in excess of $150,000 in resources. to investigate her knowingly false claims and staged abduction. Not only did this charade take valuable resources away from real criminal investigative matters, but in a time where there is serious human trafficking cases with legitimate victims, Sherri Papini used the tragic societal phenomenon to gain notoriety and financial gain. Finally, all of law enforcement in Shasta County was put on a national stage and subjected to scrutiny and criticism for handling this case. It has been a long time coming, and we are grateful that our federal partners diligently pursued justice. So he really, pulled no punches there. He just said what he wanted to do.
I saw an interview today with one of the sheriffs, and he straight up just called her a narcissist because the reporter, I think it was like a Good Morning America clip, and the reporter guy was like, why do you think she would do something like this? Do we have any motive? And he was like, I think a motive will come out during trial, but I think it's mostly because she's a narcissist and has narcissistic behavior. So I was like, wow.
Yeah, I really feel like that's spot on for Sherri. And I feel like her family enabled these narcissistic, tendencies.
But I feel like even her own family started throwing her under the bus because they're the ones that like came out and started telling the press about kind of like her crazy outbursts in the past, where I feel like if they were trying to protect her, they wouldn't, unless they're just trying to make themselves look like, whoa, like we're not part of this.
Her family did release a statement that said, "We love Sherri and are appalled by the way in which law enforcement ambushed her this afternoon in a dramatic and unnecessary manner in front of her children. If requested, Sherri would have fully complied and come to the police station, as she has done multiple times before, where this could have been handled in a more appropriate way. Sherri and Keith have cooperated with law enforcement's requests, despite repeated attempts to unnecessarily pit them against each other, empty threats to publicly embarrass them, and other conduct that was less than professional. We are confused by several aspects of the charges and hope to get clarification in the coming days." So I saw that Sherri's sister Sheila did post that statement, but I think she's since deleted it. So I don't know what's going on in terms of the family dynamics at the moment. And that the family did also post bail for Sherri. I believe it was $120,000. So she's currently out of prison awaiting the next court hearing, I guess, on March 18. So since her arrest, some more information has come out about her abduction. So the man that Sherri was hiding with has come out. His name is James Reyes. James told police they did not have sex when she was with him and that she took over his bedroom while he slept on the couch. Two other men have come out and said that basically he had a relationship with Sherri while she was married after they met on a work trip. And the other worked with her at a youth program. And he said that she was, quote, attention hungry and made up stories to get attention. That is essentially kind of it up to date for Sherri's case at the moment. As I said, there will be some updates in the next few weeks, which we will keep you updated on as they emerge.
I noticed, I wrote this down to tell you and to laugh about it, that this is the one case that I've seen where the police said that the community should be concerned and exercise caution and awareness.
Wow. They didn't say no threat to the community as usual.
No.
In this case, there really was no threat to the community.
Yeah, just dumbass Sherri. But they did say that the community should exercise caution and awareness. And then I literally looked up what year the movie Taken came out, and it was like 2006 or like 2009, sometime before this. And I really feel like she saw Taken and was just like, I have an idea. I feel like she was definitely trying to go with like she was going to be sex trafficked and like that it was like the cartel or whatever. And just like it just didn't seem real at all.
So just literally in the last few hours since we've started recording, there is another article from People that I'll list on the blog, and it talks about the injuries that she had. It said, ex-boyfriend said he helped her create some of the injuries, although he never laid his hands directly on her. For example, she told him, bank a puck off my leg. So he shot a puck off her leg lightly. He also said that Sherri asked him to brand her. He bought a wood-burning tool from Hobby Lobby and branded her right shoulder. The ex-boyfriend said he was nervous and wanted to hold steady while doing the brand because the tool was so hot it glowed red. And it also says that Sherri kind of ended her abduction because she apparently missed her children. It's just so weird. Like, I wonder what he thought. Like, imagine if someone ran away to be with you and they're like, oh, can you brand me? He must have known.
Why did it take him this long to come forward?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when it was like did he not like see the headlines of her missing?
And I feel like
happening?
I feel like he didn't come forward until the police contacted him in the criminal complaint. So, they've probably known about this kind of branding information for the last few years, but why didn't he come forward sooner? I wonder if he was still having some type of relationship with Sherri.
She like bribed him somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past her. So, yeah, that's up to date for Sherri. I'll put all the information on the blog, her blog post, the whole criminal complaint. Make sure you check it all out because you can spend hours and hours on this crazy, ridiculous case.
Oh, wait. One more thing to say about Sherri. When the news, when I first saw the headline, I messaged it to you and I was like, is this new? Is this real? Remember? Because I saw it when I was trying to go to sleep and I wasn't sure if it was just the reposting of sometimes they'll repost old articles and try to make them seem new, but it's really nothing new.
Yeah.
And I was so confused because I just really did not see this happening right now. But we posted on our Instagram and we had so many messages from a lot of people were I never believed her. Thank God finally. But a lot of people were I'm so upset. I really believed her. I feel bad for those people, kind of, but
yeah, I feel too. That's why. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what I was going to say, but yeah, I agree.
So before we get into the story of Madison Bell, I just want to tell you guys about the latest true crime podcast I've been binging. It's called Morning Cup of Murder. Love that name. So you remember those desktop calendars that would tell you about what happened on that day in history? Well, Morning Cup of Murder took the idea and turned into a daily podcast that now has over 850 episodes that dive into serial killers, cults, cold cases, murders, and more.
Morning Cup of Murder is the best way to start your day because each episode is less than 10 minutes long, so it's perfect to listen to while you're having that first cup of coffee or tea in the morning. So Morning Cup of Murder can be heard everywhere you listen to podcasts. Check out Morning Cup of Murder today.
So now we're going to get into Madison Bell, which I feel a lot of people, if you were big in crime groups, you'd probably know this case, but I feel it would be a 50-50 on if people have heard of it or not.
The 18-year-old Highland County teen reported missing for days has been found safe.
Madison Bell told her family she was going tanning on Sunday, but never came home. WLWT News 5's Helena Battapaglia joins us live now, where a massive search effort was supposed to take place for her today. Helena?
Well, Molly and Curtis, I can tell you the community is sort of breathing a sigh of relief tonight because people really didn't know what to think when Maddie Bell initially went missing. But again, the good news tonight is that she is safe, and a lot of resources really did go into the effort to try to find her. We had teams from Texas EquiSearch come in, a high-level search and rescue organization for missing people. A local group, Rescue 101, was also involved, the FBI, and many, many volunteers. We talked to officials about how much goes into an expansive search like this and if any lessons can be learned.
Given the outcome of this, our resources were not wasted. Until this morning, when I got the phone call, she could have still been abducted. Therefore, it's not a waste of resources, and that's one of the things that I myself stress to law enforcement and other first response agencies.
Now, the family released a statement reading in part, "We ask that the public and media respect our privacy during this difficult time while we are emotionally raw. We are just relieved to know Maddie is alive and not in physical danger, thanks to friends and family who have been supported us during the most difficult time of our lives." And a lot of people donated money to the family during this search effort. The family is working on returning that money to everybody who donated.
So Madison lived in Highland County, Ohio with her family. Her mother's name is Melissa, and Madison's boyfriend, his name is Cody Mann. He also lived with her family. Madison was 18 years old at the time this all took place in 2020. On Sunday, May 17, 2020, Madison told her family that she was leaving home for a tanning appointment. Her mom said, she just yelled, "Mom, I'm going tanning." She said she always comes right back. She's not one to be a minute late without calling or texting or letting me know not to worry. When Madison didn't return home, her family got worried. Police were called and started the search for Madison straight away. They pinged her phone and they found her car abandoned at a local church. The keys were still in the vehicle, the doors were unlocked, and her cell phone was inside the car. Never a good sign.
No.
The car was very close to where Madison went tanning. I think it was the church was across the street or something, or it was the same plaza type situation.
Yeah, it was literally 30-second walk or something like that. It wasn't far.
Yeah. Madison's case was full of hysterics from the start. People started commenting about strange vehicles that were seen at the church where she went missing. One comment said, "A white car with California tags was spotted at the church this morning." For some, we mentioned kind of earlier, for some reason, this case, it wasn't even that mysterious or anything, but it just was immediate franticness from social media. Everyone was very invested. Everybody was acting out about it. I don't really know why.
You know why? I was just actually thinking while you were speaking why. I reckon it was because this was peak COVID time. Everyone was home.
We were bored.
Yeah, everyone was online. There was nothing else to do. So, like, I feel like it just happened at the right time for everyone to be invested because everyone was available at that point.
It was like the Tiger King of true crime. It was, though. Everyone was acting the same way. Everyone was wild.
I was thinking about it this morning before we recorded it, and there are some cases where people really do go wild. Like, I remember Molly Tibbetts was a case, and hers was a real, actual sad case and murder. Whereas, you know, there's just a few cases that seem to grab people's attention, and this was definitely one of them.
So when her mom posted an update on social media, she said, "We still have not found Maddie. She was last seen by us leaving home at approximately 10 a.m. to go tanning at Country Corner Market on May 17th, 2020. For some reason, she didn't make it to the tanning salon," which is weird because in an interview in quotes, when Madison is talking to random people on Instagram, she said she did go tanning. For some reason, she didn't make it to the tanning salon. Her car was found at the Good Shepherd Church located off 28 in close proximity to Corner Market. I cannot give a description of what she was wearing. I was cleaning when she changed clothes and left and yelled, "Mom, I'm going to tan. I'll be right back." She would never be even a few minutes late from wherever she was going without calling or texting me. A couple people saw a tall white male, approximately late 20s to early 30s, who was in the church parking lot before 10 a.m. with a white car. They think a Nissan, but not confirmed. He had a polo shirt, and the car had California license plates, according to witnesses. The car was traveling towards Leesburg area as it pulled out. Her car was found unoccupied, unlocked, windows up, keys in the ignition, and her phone was laying in the car. She would never leave these items in the car. We don't know how her car got there or if she was coaxed to pull in. As a mom, I'm thinking whoever this was flagged her down and she thought she knew them but didn't once she pulled in. And then the rest just goes on to about search party, please come home, Maddie. Thanks to all the family members and community for sharing a story. Please keep us in your prayers, the usual. So from there, her mother spoke to the media about how they discovered she was missing. She said later Maddie hadn't returned. She waited another 15 minutes and then started texting and calling her daughter. She didn't respond. I feel like that's a short time to go frantic, which is
an hour.
It kind of seems like the mom is very much like a hover mom.
Yeah, a helicopter mom, yeah.
Yeah. Melissa Bell said she looked on the Find My iPhone app and Maddie's phone was showing up near the tanning place.
I just realized that's 2 cases today where they find my phone, and that kind of led to the case beginning.
And I feel like I heard another one recently where they were like using that too. So from there, the mom and Maddie's boyfriend, Cody, they were at the house and the two decided to look for her. They spotted her car at the Good Shepherd Church across from the market. The mom said it was the only car in the parking lot. We pulled in and the windows are up. She said the car was unlocked and she opened the car door. She said, "I noticed her phone laying in the car, her keys are in the ignition, and money that she had in the pullout thing was still there. She's a typical teenager. She would never leave that phone." Melissa said Maddie never made it to the Country Corner Market. She said she didn't sign in. The 2 mornings before that she did, but that morning video surveillance doesn't show her car making it to the tanning area. She did not sign in. Highland County Sheriff Donnie Barrera also spoke about finding Madison's car abandoned. They said, "There's no reason so far that we found why she would have pulled into that parking lot. The sheriff's office has possession of the car," and Barrera said they found nothing out of the ordinary. There's nothing disheveled or looked like it had been rummaged through or anything like that. He said at this point, it didn't look like that there was a struggle in the vehicle. He said, "We're treating it 2 ways. We're treating it as the family likes. They think there's possible foul play. And there's also the fact that some information we got hinted that she took off." Maddie's boyfriend also made a plea for her to return home safe. He said, "I'll see you when you get back," is the last thing I got to say. "She's the most loving girl I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I can't even explain it. I just want her to come home." So Madison's case garnered worldwide attention, both from the FBI and the Ohio Bureau of Investigation became involved. On May 21st, police released information about a man they wanted to speak with in connection to Maddie's disappearance. They released a missing poster, and it shows a picture of a guy wearing like a plaid shirt, a picture of a white Nissan, and says, "Investigators are interested in identifying the individual in the below photos. This individual may have information related to the disappearance of Madison Bell from Highland County on May 17, 2020. And then it just says contact phone number.
Quite a clear photo. He's wearing like a checkered shirt. He looks probably late 20s, white guy. Like it's,
yeah.
If you knew him, you would know. You could tell by that photo.
Yeah, good quality. So just one day after the suspect was made public, Maddie was found safe. Sheriff Barrera said that he had spoken with Maddie and that she had made the choice to leave and start a new life. Madison's friend made the following post. It says, Maddie is safe. Sheriff Barrera has confirmed that Maddie is safe. However, not sharing her location with family and friends. And then this part's like to Maddie. Like, Maddie, once again, if you see this, I will never give up on our friendship. You've been my bestie for as long as we can remember. If I'm being honest, I was so relieved when I saw this, but I was also extremely hurt that you hadn't reached out to me to tell me you are safe. I hope you know, and always have known, just how important you are in my life. I hope that it has more to do with you being scared than anything. I hope that when things settle down, you will call me and that you are not 100% leaving everything behind. Your safety and happiness is the most important thing to anybody, but I want to be there to share in your happiness and know you forever. Sweet girl, you will always, always, always have a friend in me, and I hope you never ever forget that. I understand your wishes right now, but I promise you I would never do anything to compromise your happiness. Call me at some point, Maddie, whether it be today, tomorrow, a month from now. I will always be on your side. Please don't make me lose a friend. I love you so much, and I'm always going to be here.
So Madison's family also made a statement at the time. They said, we ask that the public and media respect our privacy during this difficult time while we are emotionally raw. We are just relieved to know Maddie is alive and not in physical danger. Thank you to every single person who looked for Maddie, and then they go on to list everyone. Thank you to everyone who donated on Maddie's behalf to assure we had reward money to offer for her safe return. Every single effort to find Maddie has touched us, and we appreciate it from the bottom of our heart.
So then this is where things like really like take a turn. So after news broke that Madison was fine, she made a new Facebook name under the name Madison Noel Salmon. She made posts thanking all her supporters for all their love and compassion, and people really lost their minds over this. Some online sleuths made groups dedicated to her. They FaceTimed with Madison and her new boyfriend, which is the suspect that was in the pictures, and asked if they could donate money to her. Well, no. People were asking to donate money for her, or Madison and him were asking for money?
I think both. I think people were saying, because you know how that, like, there was rumors that she'd left home because there was things going on in her family. There was rumors about things going on with Cody and her mother, and that she, couldn't escape Cody because Cody had lived with her, and, she had no way to break up with him because he had nowhere else to go. So I feel like it was both. She definitely asked for money, but people also wanted to donate to her.
Yeah. So should we talk about like those rumors now, or just
yeah, well, we might as well.
But yeah, so like Olivia was just saying, and I'll put there, she did some like fake Instagram live interviews with this like random girl who was one of the crazy internet people who like somehow became her quote best friend. Like they keep referring to each other as best friends. The whole thing's really cringy. Even like in the interview, they're like, we should make a YouTube channel, like we'll make millions. So the whole thing's really cringe. And Madison also does not come off as this like sweet, loving girl that the mom and Cody said she was. She's
swearing,
coming off very like wannabe thug almost, like wannabe super tough.
And I know, like, the thing is too, I was thinking about it. She was only 18, but in saying that, she caused a huge amount of fuss. Police spent a huge amount of money, and she was absolutely at the time not taking any responsibility for it. She's like, F them, it was basically, it wasn't very nice.
I did not leave my mom a note. I left the keys in the car. I left my phone in the car. I did not leave no note. I'm not comfortable telling the whole story, if you want my opinion.
Thank you. That I was about to.
I didn't tell her because she doesn't need to know my business. Like, I'm 18, so why does she need to know? If I'm gone, I'm gone. She was abusive, so I'm not gonna tell that I'm going.
Exactly. She would have probably beat you to death.
Mm-hmm.
Told her you were leaving.
Wake up. I mean, I used to have on my old phone. I used to have all kinds of pictures, and he's seen them all.
Oh yeah.
Every single picture.
I believe it.
Right, she's like a psychotic monster. That's the best to explain it.
That explains it. And about her affair with Cody.
Yeah, I always thought they had an affair. Definitely, yeah.
For sure.
Cody did hit me a few times, but I really don't want to go into detail.
Exactly. You're doing awesome, Maddie.
Thanks.
Yeah, and even in this clip, she's saying the mom was super abusive and crazy, which, again, we don't know if that's true or not. She says that the mom and her boyfriend Cody were having an affair, and that was true. Just like a lot of...
Yeah, Cody had lived with her since they were 13 or 14. So it was a very weird kind of dynamic in their house, you know, to have your boyfriend living. I don't know at what point they became boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm pretty sure they'd been together for a few years though. So imagine being 14 or 15 and having your boyfriend live in the family home with you. It'd be very unusual.
She also casually mentioned that Cody had hit her in the past, but she didn't want to talk about it. She said her mom's crying was so fake. And she said she didn't want... People were asking if she left her mom a note, because that was like a social media theory that the mom was lying and that Madison left a note. She said she'd never left her mom a note, and she said that she's 18 and didn't want to tell that bitch where she was going. So it's also like, yeah, you were 18. You didn't have to fake your disappearance. You could have just left with this guy like you wanted to and just told your mom, like, fuck you, I'm leaving, instead of making it like a whole big search. Like, she knew, and they admit to knowing that the police and all these people were searching for them. Like, it's not like she didn't know.
Yeah, and they let it go on. It wasn't weeks, but it was days, at least in this case. And they did spend a lot of money.
So also in these fake interviews that she was doing appeared the suspect, who was actually the new guy that she was seeing. His name was Zach Salmon, and I think he was like 29 years old. Yeah, 29 years old. She was only 18, which I guess isn't super crazy, but still kind of eh. But once we get a little further, then it's like way more eh. So she gave an interview to WHIO.com, and she said, I haven't talked to my mom. I'm kind of afraid if they come find me, but they also can't do anything because I'm 18, so it was my choice. She said in an Instagram live that she met Zach online 5 years ago. She said, I love Zach. He's amazing. He's so sweet. I never felt love like this before. And I think they met on like some online game like Clash of Clans or something similar, something weird. Online records indicate Zach was 29 at the time of the abduction, in quotes. If this is true, that would mean that Madison met him 5 years ago and that he would be 24 and that she would have been 13, which is awkward and illegal.
We're just waiting for that invite to the talk show.
Yeah, we're waiting for the invite. Yeah, honestly, why do people care so much? Like, leave me the alone. Like, I'm happy, and that's all that matters. I've been keeping in so much shit in my chest. I'm fine just letting it out because I don't care. I'm tired of like the hate. So yeah. We would voice call. I'd have to sneak and call in.
But that was well after she was 18.
Yeah, that was after I was 18.
We kept it docile, professional, and platonic.
See, we known each other for 4 years, but when I was younger, we talked as friends only. Like, we played the game together. We would like help each other out in the game. Like, we wouldn't do nothing. We weren't talking about nothing bad.
Go date him then. He'd probably date somebody like you. Do you like abusive people?
Yeah. Go date him and get the page. Sorry.
Bye, Ma.
Yeah, I don't know why you think you're cool trying to get on my page. You can
block. Bye.
Yeah, block. Nice try.
And also, I think I remember, if I'm remembering rightly at the time, when they ran away to his house, didn't he still live with his mother?
Yeah.
Yes.
So she's another person that didn't fucking say anything.
It was just a big old mess, really.
Unfortunately, sometimes love just isn't enough. And on June 18th, so 1 month after the fake abduction, Madison's family traveled to Florida to collect her from Zach's home. This was really messy, and somehow like the private texts between Madison and Zach were made public, and she said to him, "Hey babe, it's Maddie. We got home safely. I wanted to let you know my decision. I've decided to stay home and work on my relationships with my family and Cody. Please go back and work on things with your mom. You both need each other. I can't throw my life away. I got here and there are all these scholars and my diploma. I'm sorry. I'll remember us." Like, I'll remember. It's so like middle school vibes.
Oh my God.
He said back to her, "Thank you for my closure. I will leave you alone forever. Goodbye. I will write you a note, but you've broken my heart to pieces beyond repair. Good life to you. I will commit suicide tomorrow." And then the next message, "I love you." And then the next message, "Why the fuck you call me babe? I don't know. But I hope you find happiness in your secluded world. Goodbye." And then he sends another message, "Could you please call me so I can hear you say that? My last request. I need to hear your voice telling me to go away." Like, it's so middle school.
Oh,
And then there's a little
he's
clip.
29. He's only 30 years old.
He's only like 2 years younger than me right now. Like I could not imagine. I couldn't imagine like dating an 18-year-old because like it is a pretty big age gap, but like 18 is really like still young.
Yeah.
Like a child basically. And like I couldn't imagine behaving this way. Like I definitely behave this way as like a girl in 8th grade. Not saying like I'm going to commit suicide, but just being so fucking melodramatic.
I need to hear you tell it to me.
I need to hear your voice say it. And then there's like a little clip of her, what she said. It's not the full thing, but she said, "No, catch the plane tomorrow. I'm going to block you because I knew you would do this." In that moment, I was like, that's the one moment where I was like, good for you, girl. So Madison didn't end up speaking about her motivation for leaving. It's believed she felt pressured to have a relationship with Cody. She also, like we were saying, like made claims that that her mom was abusive, that Cody was abusive. I don't know how true any of that was, or if she was just like trying to legitimize her leaving to the world.
I feel like, I don't know if there was any actual abuse, but I do feel like her mother was very controlling and very hovering in helicopters. So maybe, that's part of it. Maddie just thought, I can't tell her that I'm going, so I'm just going to go.
Her mom seemed annoying as fuck, to be honest. Like, not to be in the, not the least rude way possible. Her mom seemed really annoying. Like, she went tanning, had to drive to a tanning salon, go tanning, which takes like at least 20 minutes. Yeah, put your clothes back on. And after 45 minutes, the mom's in a fucking panic already. Like, relax. She's 18. Anyways, coming from me who doesn't have children. Yeah, I know. Madison said that Cody moved into her home at the age of 14. She was 13. She says that she always felt that the relationship with Cody was forced by her parents, and she, for years, was trying to escape the situation. She mentions one time telling a school counselor about the situation of her and Cody living together, but according to her, nothing was done. Madison said that she never did tell Cody that she wanted to break up. So it's been almost 2 years now since Madison was, quote, abducted. Her social media accounts and her family members all seem to have kind of been removed, or maybe they made new profiles, changed names, so that creeps like us can't still stalk them. We did see a few months ago that she still had a Facebook page up, and it seemed like she ended up getting married to Cody, the boyfriend who she lived with and then continued to slander all over the internet. But not sure if that's true, but it did seem like they were back together, and like, I don't know how he would take her back after that, but I guess.
Well, I don't know how, Keith stayed with Sherri after all these multiple affairs and still,
She also claimed that the mom and him had an affair.
It's not just saying, I didn't like him and, it was, she said a lot of mean things. If maybe they were true, I doubt it, but maybe they were true.
Yeah, and she also claimed that he hit her. Who knows what's true, who knows what's not, but either way, it's just a lot. I think a lot of it was her trying to justify leaving.
Yeah.
So that's the most we know on this case.
I doubt there'll be any more updates unless they decide to pursue charges against her.
Yeah, at this point, she hasn't been charged or anything like that. I feel like they said that she wouldn't be charged, which is kind of. I feel like you should at least have to get a ticket and pay a fine for.
Absolutely,
it's not like she lied though. That's the thing. Like she didn't lie to police ever.
Well,
but she caused this.
Yeah.
Before we get into the rest of the episode, this episode is sponsored by Fit On. After being lazy all winter, I started feeling pretty unhealthy and wanted to get back on the right track, especially since I have a few weddings and summer vacation coming up. Going to the gym's hard. I hate going after work when I'm already tired, but going in the morning is just as hard for me because I'm not a morning person at all. That's why I'm so happy to have found the free fitness app Fit On. It gives me the convenience of working out at home anytime I want.
Fit On is the #1 premium free fitness app, and it's redefining the workout experience. Text Society to 64,000 to join Fit On for free. Fit On is flexible. You can choose from over 1,000 easy-to-follow workouts from all fitness levels, or you can follow a customized workout plan based on your fitness goals. It has the widest variety of workout styles, including cardio, HIIT, strength training, toning, Pilates, yoga, kickboxing, and more. You'll never get bored.
Fit On has a 4.9 App Store rating and more than 350,000 5-star reviews, has been featured in Forbes, US Weekly, People, Women's Health, and more. Join over 10 million people getting their Fit On. Work out for free anytime, anywhere. Text Society to 64,000 to join Fit On for free. Text Society to 64,000. That's Society to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. Terms apply. Available at fitonapp.com/terms.
So I think the motivations of both Sherri and Madison were quite different. For me, I feel like Sherri is really probably a narcissist, and she did this just because she could, and she could get away with it, and she likes the attention of men, and she likes the attention of everyone. Whereas I think Madison probably did it just because she's young and a little bit immature and felt maybe a bit trapped.
I think it's both are like the main root is like attention seeking.
Yeah,
Which is
I
like
do
different
agree.
ways.
Yeah. And obviously I feel like Madison kind of maybe didn't realize that it was going to blow up as much as it did. And when she realized, then she really became an attention seeker. Whereas Sherri, I feel, surely had to have known from the start that this was going to be a big thing.
Yeah, like they were both attention seeking, but like Madison's is more like dumb and not thought out, whereas like Sherri's the opposite and was like very thought out and calculated.
Yeah.
Madison, I feel she probably was in her head like, oh, I'm going to run away, and then kind of didn't really think about the fact that her mom was going to report her as a missing person, and then it was just going to blow up into this big thing, and everyone was bored because of the pandemic, so then everyone lost their fucking minds about it.
I did read that if Sherri is convicted of the charges, she can face up to 5 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. And that's just for the false statement charges. The mail fraud charge carries a maximum of 20 years in prison and also a fine of up to $250,000.
I feel like for all this effort, she really didn't even get that much money.
No,
like
she got $30,000.
And then less than $50,000 from the GoFundMe. So she got less than $100,000, which like, yeah, that's like a lot of money. I would want that much money. But like for all the effort and like the stress and fucking branding yourself, I don't think that was worth it.
It's crazy even to think that after she came back from her abduction, she obviously still carried this on with the therapy for the PTSD from the kidnapping. And like she could have probably just cut it off then, and it maybe would have faded into the, background, but she really, really tried to keep this going, it seems like, for years after she came back.
Yeah, and I think it's like a hard opinion to have because I don't know if I'm right or not, but I feel like it's weird that she literally never talked to the media, ever.
Yeah, and just her husband seems...
Yeah, like he was the mouthpiece.
Yeah. It's weird because he has actually been pretty quiet. Like he hasn't really... The family have made their joint statement, but he hasn't said anything since. As far as I know, they're still together as well. He hasn't left her even after all these affairs have come out.
Do you think he knew anything? Or I guess because he passed a polygraph test, but I just feel like, I don't know.
I don't think so. I feel like he seems to have been, I don't know, whipped isn't the right word, but do you know what I mean? Like he would have done anything for her. So I feel like...
whipped is the right word.
Like he's obviously known about this for years, like the affairs and things for years since the complaint came out, and he still has stayed with her. Like I know, people forgive and forget, but I don't know if I could forgive my husband.
This is a lot.
If he put my family through all of this, like not even just the affair, everything else, I don't know if I could ever forgive him.
An affair is like a hard enough thing to like forgive and forget a lot of people can't even do that. But then imagine multiple affairs on top of that, faking your own disappearance where if he didn't know anything, where he was worried and stressed the entire time looking for her. And not even just like faking your own disappearance, but like psychopathy behind like branding yourself. They said she was like covered in like bruises, like broke her nose, like she did all that herself or like had someone do that to her on purpose. That's an insane person.
I know, it's crazy. Like, I still wonder what he thought. Imagine if someone ran away with you and then they're like, can you brand me? Can you... It's very strange. And then to not even have sex with him, which I don't know if that's true or not, but he says they didn't have sex. So I wonder what the story was.
I wonder if she ever came clean to the husband at all during this time where she was found and now, or if he ever like picked up any red flags about it. Or I wonder if even like the therapist, not that they can say, I wonder if they can subpoena like the therapist or whatever for the trial, but if they can, if they ever like picked up on the fact that they thought she was like lying or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. I'm surprised she hasn't written a book or something about it.
Yeah. I feel like if she wasn't lying, she definitely would have by now. But she was kind of hoping it would go away. So speaking of like how people do this for attention seeking, I think it was when I was out of high school and I was like in my early 20s and I was like still hanging out with the same people I hung out with in high school. And one of like my friend group's guy friends dated this girl who was I know it's like rude to say crazy, but she, we were young and dramatic. My friend dated this girl for a long time. They broke up and she was very dramatic about it, wanted to like get back together. The kind of dramatic where it was like she'd show up at his house and stuff and So I guess she like wanted to get his attention one day and called him and pretended that she was being kidnapped or abducted or something. And she told him that someone put her in the trunk of her car and was like abducting her and like driving away, and she was like trapped in the trunk. So I guess she didn't think that my guy friend would call the police about this. It instead would just be like so worried about her and would go out on his own to save her. But like a normal person, my friend called the police, and the police got involved, and they like found her car, quote unquote, abandoned in McDonald's parking lot, and she wasn't in it, and they like tracked her down. Then she tried to say it was one of our other friends who abducted her that literally had nothing to do it. Like, my other friend has to get questioned by the police, and then she finally admitted she was lying. Like, how embarrassing.
I just can't even imagine going to those lengths. It's crazy.
And it's like, here I am, at least 10 years later, still laughing about it.
I don't, like with Madison, like I feel like probably deleting their social media and things like that is a good move for her.
Yeah, especially if she's trying to just like get back to normal
Move on
life.
to it. I just had a look, and Zach still got his Instagrams up. His last, and his Facebook up. The last public post was July 30, 2021. And it's a photo of him, and it says new look fits, and then like a crying face. So I don't really know what's going on with that, but
He's going to find another girl, another underage girl to tell that he's going to commit suicide or whatever.
Yeah.
How embarrassing. It's all embarrassing. That's what it is.
Like, especially for him now, he's in his 30s. You just think, oh my gosh. Yeah, very embarrassing. So I tried to see if there are any stats on kind of faked abductions or kidnappings, but there isn't really many official studies that I can find. I did find an interesting Australian article, though, from the Sun Herald about faked kidnappings and the reasons for them. And when I talk about these stats, you have to remember that there's only around 8 million people in the state of New South Wales. So their numbers might seem quite low, but it's also a low, I guess, sample size. The article said around 30 people have faked their own kidnappings in New South Wales in the past year. Among a spate of false reports to New South Wales police have been cases involving ransom demands to relatives, handcuffs, and faked injuries. New South Wales has Australia's highest recorded kidnapping rate with 6.9 abductions per 100,000 people. However, out of 238 cases out of alleged abduction, only 57% actually involved an abduction. 1/3 of victims experienced an attempted abduction, and 4% of cases did not fall into the legal description of abduction. So I guess that kind of is a grey area too. You know, what someone classifies as abduction may not actually be correct.
Yeah.
There's an interesting quote from a psychologist named Donald Thompson, and he said people faked their own kidnappings to get a former partner or friend in trouble with the police, to draw attention to themselves, or to disappear and create a new identity. It just takes one type of activity taken by someone as a means of getting back at somebody. I don't know. I feel like Madison's is probably a way of getting back at her family.
Yeah.
Sherri, I don't know. I feel like Sherri's wasn't, though. Sherri's is a little bit different.
No, I feel like she just wanted like attention. I don't even know if she wanted like money. Like, you would think in most like fake kidnappings, it's either for just attention, like we've been saying, or like a GoFundMe type scan. But I feel like neither of these were for money, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. Well, no. I was going to say, I think Madison realised it could be for some money afterwards, and that's why
like
she
after
gave
the
her
fact.
then. But she didn't do it to, say, get a big ransom or anything like that. It was just an opportunistic thing for her.
Like, Sherri didn't get a lot of money out of it. I saw some theories. They're saying like she wanted to get a reality TV show and stuff out of it. But like, I don't know many abductions and real kidnappings that led to a reality TV show. So I think it's kind of a weird thought. But maybe she wanted like the celebrity of it, kind of like Elizabeth Smart or cases like that, JC Dugard.
Yeah. And I guess it's something that is probably a little bit unusual. Like, you know, you get people who do other things to be famous. Probably not too many people go to the length of staging their own abduction. I feel like Sherri is just really a pathological liar. Like, even the stuff about her mum and pretending that her mum gave her the wounds when she was self-harming. It seems like she's always been able to get away with these lies.
Yeah.
You know, in regards of her life. So maybe she just assumed this was going to be another thing that she could get away with.
I guess that's really it. I mean, nothing else is going to happen with Madison's case. I think her case is closed, and lucky for her, she got out of it unscathed. I would be interested to hear from her now on if, like, what the fuck happened. Like, did she have, like, a weird, like, mental break and then just decided to go back to her normal life? Like, was she on drugs? Because she just the way that she came off in the Instagram videos really was not how her family and Cody like portrayed her at all. And I get it, like everyone, when they die, they're like, oh, they lit up a room, like they were so magical. But this was like wild.
Maybe she was kind of putting on more of an act for Zach. Like maybe the way that they had interacted was very different to the way that she interacted with everyone before.
Yeah, especially since she's so much younger than him. Maybe she was just trying to like impress him, like come off cool.
And I have no doubt, like probably him being older would have been a large part of the attraction for her. So maybe when she got there and he lived in a shack with his mum, she might be like, what is going on?
Not everything she thought it would be. And he really did, he did groom her, it seems, from a very young age, which is gross.
Very gross. And everyone seems to just kind of gloss over that. No one seems to really mention that he was actually speaking to a very young teenager at the start.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he was doing it again.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's that with these cases. Sherri's will be ongoing, so we will continue to give updates on that. Madison's probably closed, but everything that we talked about will be on the blog at truecrimesocietyblog.com. We'll put all the screenshots we have, the social medias we have, everything if you want to check those out. You can follow us on Instagram, True Crime Society. On Instagram, we post a lot of crimes, updates in our stories. Probably the best way to follow us, because that's probably where we're most active these days, since Facebook is trying to shadow ban us every chance they get. You can follow our personal accounts. They are linked in the True Crime Society Instagram bio. Mine is StephSum_. Mine's private, but you can request me and I'll accept it. I'm just like too scared to have a public one because like at least if you're going to be mean to me, at least you have to follow me then, and then I can block you. Olivia is much more brave, and she is TCS Olivia, and hers is public, so you could shoot her a follow. And if you've read those, like I said, they're in our Instagram bio. Then we have our forum. You can check that out. Lots of great reading material. You can have a username, be more anonymous. That's truecrimesociety.com. And as always, if you haven't left us a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify, please do so and share the podcast with your friends. Post it in your Instagram story. Post it wherever you have the most friends so people see it and we can get more listeners and we can quit our jobs and we can focus on the podcast even more. Yeah, we could put much more effort. I'd love to put more effort into like the Instagram, the podcast, but unfortunately I work full time on top of doing this, which gets very, very tiring. And if any of my coworkers are listening to this, you didn't hear anything about me wanting to quit. No, you didn't. But I think that's it. Anything else?
Nope, nothing else.
Thank you to our sponsors for this episode. We've got June's Journey. We've got Fit On. We've got Ana Luisa. Check them all out. We will put all the links and codes and everything in the episode description. We'll also post them on Instagram occasionally, but they're definitely in the episode description. Also, check out the podcast we mentioned, Morning Cup of Murder. Great listen, daily podcast. Get a little bit of a true crime fix every day.
Definitely.
As always, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. Love you guys. See you then. Peace out.
Yeah, bye.